Hello, I'm Marcus Railton, and this is the Scots Care podcast. Scots Care is the only charity dedicated to helping disadvantaged Scots in London through a range of support, including mental health therapy, financial grants, advocacy, sheltered housing for older Scots, job coaching, social events, befriending, and support for children and families. The charity's been running for 400 years to help break the cycle of poverty experienced by some Scots in London. In this series of the Scots Care podcast, I'll be chatting to celebrities and supporters of the charity that have forged a life often away from Scotland and about the ups and downs that can bring. On the podcast today is David Duke, MBE. David grew up in Govan in Glasgow and battled homelessness before finding his way coaching kids football. He is the founder of Street Soccer Scotland and Street Soccer London, organisations that use the power of football to help young people and adults make positive change in their lives. It's a huge privilege and pleasure to have him on the programme today.
Scots Care, helping to break the cycle of deprivation for Scots in London.
Hi David.
Hi Marcus, how you doing?
I'm good. When you started Street Soccer, what one came first? Was it London or Scotland that came first?
Scotland. So Scotland was set up in 2009.
And when was Street Soccer London?
London would have been exactly 1 month before the pandemic. So was that early 2020?
2019, 2020?
You know, I can't remember now because the COVID's kind of taken 2 years out of my life. So when was... Yeah, probably 2019.
Yeah. But when you set them up, was it always your intention to have a kind of, the physical support network is getting on the pitch and exercising, but was it always your intention to have a kind of emotional support network as part of the setup?
Well, that was it. I mean, football's just football's great, and obviously the benefits of playing football is, exercise and all that kind of stuff. But actually the purpose of street soccer was always to create communities for people and to create support networks and to make sure that people feel part of something. A lot of our players have experienced kind of really difficult times and often they've had to kind of deal with that alone. And our kind of motto is actually you've got a better chance if you do it together. And we all need to be part of something and part of a team. And that's what street soccer is all about, using football to bring people together, build relationships.
When I read your website, the words that keep repeating are connected and connecting people. And do you think we're just living in a world where we have less community and fewer connections to those around us? Because when I remember growing up, and I grew up in Clydebank, just outside Glasgow, I had a lot of connections, a lot of mates, a lot of good families. And then when I moved to London, I moved on my own.
Yeah, and
I went straight into shift work, and I was massively isolated. I spent a lot of time where I'd start work at 6 a.m, finish at 2 p.m, and I would sit in parks and read books and stuff. And we do seem to live in a world where we have fewer connections now, don't we?
Yeah, and I think it depends on the community that you grow up in as well. I mean, the communities are all changing as well. But I think when I look back at my own upbringing in terms of growing up in Govan. I live in Edinburgh now, and as I say, I've got plenty of friends and stuff like that and everything else. But from a kind of neighbourhood perspective, I don't really know my neighbours that well.
Yeah.
No one really kind of engages, and maybe that's just because I'm kind of from Govan in Glasgow, where everybody talks to everybody. But I always remember just like growing up, particularly when people started losing their jobs and the kind of shipbuilding and stuff like that the community would always rally around. If someone was taken ill, members of the kind of community were there, making sure they had something to eat and all that, or somebody lost their job, making sure that he was okay and taking round kind of pots of soup and stuff like that. I don't see that as much now, but I'm sure it still exists, particularly in some of the closer knit communities. Like London and Edinburgh are quite big kind of transient cities, and there's people come here to study or to work and then they go, or then they stay, but they've not got their roots there.
Yeah, well, this is it. I think I said this before, and I've spent so many years in London, but I still don't feel like a Londoner, even though I've been here 20 plus years. But when I go back to Glasgow, I don't really feel like I belong in Glasgow anymore because I've been away so long. And it's kind of like when you were talking about growing up in Govan, And it's the same as growing up in Clydebank. You know, all the employment was with John Brown Shipyards and the Singer Sewing Machine Factory. And I remember in primary school, they both shut down.
Yeah.
Decimated it. You know, it really, our society, our community was just knackered at that point. All the kids' dads in the school were out of work. Yeah. And that's why community is so important.
Yeah. And then the impact of that has in the household, because, you know, the workers in the house feel kind of useless and worthless, and that has a negative impact on their well-being and mental health. And then sometimes that leads to, you know, alcohol and so on, just to try and get people through and make people feel better, you know. And then that just starts a kind of snowball effect in terms of what people have dealt with growing up.
I like the fact that you're very open on the website and when you talk about street soccer, about the mental health benefits. You know, I've got a 9-year-old, and we went through this phase of he didn't want to go to school. It became quite problematic. And then one day, and this wasn't a magic bullet, but it just changed things. We got him on his bike and we started cycling to school. And by the time he got to school, his attitude had changed, and he would go into school. And then at the end of the day, I'd cycle and pick him up. And by the time we got him home, his head was clear, and he wasn't unhappy about being at school. And I think that's the big thing about street soccer as well, is about the mental health benefits of exercise.
Totally. And even I've kind of used the kind of same potion during lockdown and stuff like that. I started running again just because I started to feel really kind of, you know, withdrawn, and just kind of, you know, find it hard to kind of motivate myself to do normal stuff. And I think a lot of people felt that, do you know what I mean? During COVID, because, you know, I went from being here, there and everywhere to nowhere. You know what I mean? Just sitting stuck, and obviously I live alone and stuff like that. So I think as humans, we all need social connection. And I think, you know, combine that, if you combine people with exercise, you know, so I was running, you just feel so much better, decision making and all that. You're more upbeat. You find yourself trying to eat better, just because you're more active, you know, and that's just the way it goes.
Scots Care, helping to break the cycle of deprivation for Scots in London.
And how does street soccer work for kids who want to get involved? What's the process that they go from discovering you to getting on the pitch?
So street soccer's got kind of two kind of target areas, you know, adult work and then kind of youth work. So the adult stuff predominantly is aimed around kind of homelessness and mental health and kind of addiction and so on, working with refugees, basically people who are, you know, missing out on that kind of social, maybe missing out on that social interaction, or just looking for something that's going to build their confidence and create a new network for them. So people just get involved by either being referred from another agency that they're involved in, or just kind of turning up. You know, there's not a complicated process. You turn up. I mean, you can literally just turn up at the side of the pitch.
Are the adults looking to play football, or are the adults looking for something else as well? You know, as in like friendship, community.
Yeah, I think a bit of both. You'll get guys that are attracted to the football, or football something that they feel that they can achieve. You know, it's something that they know it's you know, it's something that they've done in the past. But I think everyone comes for different reasons. So some people come from support, and then they kind of integrate into the football. They've maybe not played, or their kind of fitness isn't that great, so they'll just kind of ease themselves in, but just be part of it and build themselves up. And then others kind of just come in, play football, and then they kind of lock on to the support that's on offer.
Do you get many adult females?
Yeah, we've got a women's programme. So we've got women's programmes in kind of Glasgow, Edinburgh, Dundee and Aberdeen. So, and again, you know, obviously the numbers aren't as high, just because obviously we're seeing a growth in kind of girls and women's football now. But, you know, we were working with over 25s, that those kind of sport and football opportunities weren't there. But our women's programme is not just about football. So there's kind of exercise classes, there's kind of boxercise, Zumba and all these types of things. So that allows people to kind of, you know, try different things. Yeah. So football might be a bit, I've never played football, that's not for me, but actually they really enjoy the exercise part. And then from the women's side, a lot of that's more around support.
You got some great ambassadors. I think that was one of the things that jumped out at me. And it was like Andy Robertson, the Scotland player, Liverpool guy. And how are you just going out and knocking on doors and saying, would you like to be an ambassador for street soccer? I mean, how are you getting that's a great name to have.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, in the early days, obviously, Sir Alex Ferguson joined as an ambassador, and that was purely through kind of reaching out to him, and obviously I'm from Govan and stuff like that as well. Probably helped. And then through Andy, it was just kind of, Andy's very big into his charity work himself, and does a lot of good things. Very much a lot of it's under the radar, but, try to help kids get involved in football and stuff. But yeah, we just kind of came across and, we made the ask. And, for us, captain of Scotland and, left back for Liverpool is pretty special. So, we're delighted to have guys like Andy and Sir Alex as well, and these guys. These allow us to kind of communicate to new platforms, more so guys like Andy, who's obviously is quite active on social and stuff like that. But, any time I've spoke to people like Andy and others, involved in the game, they all want to do good, they all want to give back. There's this, because obviously they play in the Premier League, there's a certain judgments thrown against people because of how much they may earn and stuff like that. But actually, they're just normal people like you and I, and they want to do good. And particularly in Andy's case, as I say, he's doing loads of great work in Scotland just now and supporting children who maybe can't access the game, make sure they get access to it, and a lot more than that as well.
Can we go back to the beginning? So how did street soccer come about for you? Because I think I get the impression that football kind of helped you emotionally and helped your mental health, because you kind of, in interviews that I've read with you, you've openly spoken about why a long time ago you had trouble with alcohol. So are you teetotal now?
No, I mean, I think back then, so basically the story was, I grew up in Govan, left school age 13, and then basically just kind of floated about. My mum and dad split. My dad was an alcoholic. That's how he kind of passed away. So he lost my dad passed away when I was 18, and I then became homeless. So I was in the kind of system for 3 years, and during that time, it wasn't just alcohol, anything at all to kind of get you through.
Yeah.
So you're surrounded by, no hope, no energy, nothing to do. You're just trying to get yourself through. So when you live in these environments, there's people smoking hash or, drinking and stuff like that. So I think when I was in that position, you were just you didn't really care. You're just drinking every day, and you were just trying to get through because you were in so much pain. You were trying to mask it out. And then obviously got involved with the football myself, and started training with the Scotland Homeless World Cup team. And that just allowed me the platform to say, right, okay, actually, well, if I want to do this, I can't do that.
Yeah.
So then, obviously I don't drink every day, and I'm very aware of it. I still go out now and again and stuff like most people. But back then, it was a bit an issue. But I think the issue wasn't so much the alcohol or whatever. It was actually just the more the situation. Because why wouldn't you take something that's going to take the pain away?
Yeah, make you feel a bit better. Yeah.
If you've got a cold, you're going to take, to numb the pain, and that's all it was. It was always ever something to numb the pain, and once that pain went away, and I didn't need to. Do you know what I mean? And then also when you combine that with having responsibility, because I started coaching kids football and stuff like that. So, back in the day when you're in kind of hostels, they say you might be kind of, smoking hash or taking Valium and stuff like that. But the day I started kind of coaching kids football was the last day that I ever took anything.
Yeah.
Even to this day, just because suddenly I had responsibility and I was a role model, so I had to kind of change. And obviously it wasn't easy, but I did it. And I think that's the key thing. When people always see people, like when you look at people in addiction and stuff like that, or on the street, and you see them in a kind of quite a poor condition. People just see them in that present state, but they don't see all the pain or what they're going through,
Yeah.
And if they've seen all the pain and what they've been through and all that, they would recognise why some people are in that position. And it's not until people are allowed the chance to heal and have better networks and better relationships, then they can actually go on and, look after themselves. Because as I say, when you're in that desperate position, you don't care about your health, you don't care about your life, you're just trying to survive every day and you're just trying to get through each day. I mean, it's all about, find what's the quickest way to put your head down at night.
I was wondering when you talked about your father, and it's a kind of personal thing for me, like that your father died when you were 18 and it was alcohol related. My brother died alcohol related and he was 32. And I kind of almost felt there was a responsibility there that I kind of failed him in a way, and I go through phases of saying, trying to get him into a hospital, try to get him into a rehab or try to do something for him.
Yeah.
And, ultimately it never worked. And I just wondered if you felt that. I'm only asking you this on a personal level, whether you felt that about your dad, did you try and fix it, in a way?
Yeah, I mean, I think where the guilt for me came from was that I'd kind of went my separate way from my dad for about a year. I kind of just left him to it because I was 18 now and all my pals were going to university and doing stuff and all, and I just had to break away to try and give myself some headspace and trying to kind of sort stuff out because I was only a kid, do you know what I mean? So I had a bit of guilt, but see, at the end of the day, and obviously it's back then, mental health wasn't discussed, and certainly kind of like the addiction services weren't present.
Yeah.
It was just the norm. People like to drink, do you know what I mean? But there was a bit of guilt during that kind of time of homelessness, but I quickly learned that, I was powerless, and my dad had an illness which he couldn't find a cure for.
Yeah, and I think it's important that we think of it like that as an illness rather than just somebody getting on the lash every day. Yeah, because I think my dad drank a lot, my mum drank a lot, my brother drank, and I'm not teetotal, but it's kind of like you say earlier. I do watch it. I do kind of think, hold on,
yeah. I mean, it's one of the one. Yeah, I mean, it's a social thing, and it's just like there's always a time and a place. And if it feels right, then enjoy yourself. But, at the end of the day, you don't have a chance when you're so busy and you're constantly working and stuff like that. So on holiday and stuff, it's nice to let yourself go a bit and just kind of enjoy it. But at the end of the day, you just need to make sure you're on the ball for work.
Scots Care, supporting Scots away from home in London.
Let me talk about something else. I'd like to talk about money in football because you touched on it a bit earlier where there's crazy money at football when you look at transfer fees of like Jack Grealish and 100 million or Harry Maguire and 80 million. How does street soccer work? Because explain to me, what is a social, because I read it's a social enterprise. What does that mean? Because it's not a charity, but it's a social
it's a charity.
But it's a charity.
It's both. So it's a company and a charity. So a social enterprise is basically using a kind of business approach minus any profit. So in a normal company, just say street soccer was a normal company, I would be a shareholder.
Right. So
I would then be able to, take profit, blah, 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 be able to sell it on, but there's no shareholder at street soccer. So if I was to wind the company up, all the kind of assets and stuff would be donated to a similar local cause type thing. So it's just basically identifying that, social entrepreneurship.
Right.
As it's almost like, a lot of the work we do is charitable, but we also do events and we have sponsorship deals and stuff like that where you're kind of negotiating with brands just like any football club would.
And if you were to look ahead, does street soccer grow organically for you, or do you think, do you want in 5 years' time this is where we want to take it? This is where we want to take it as a brand?
I think a bit of both. I think there's things that we've always, I think there's things that we've always wanted to do, like the centre and stuff like that. We've managed to make that happen. But I think an element you just need to kind of, when I speak to the team, the only thing I kind of give them in terms of a target is every day we try and find somebody who needs us.
Yeah.
And then every day we try and make the experience better for the players who are involved. So on the kind of across the front line, that's the message. You know, I don't dazzle people with big numbers and big fancy strategies. It's saying, look, there's somebody out there who could be doing with being part of something. How do we find them?
And are you still as hands-on as you were on day one? It's just because as it's grown, and like you were saying in Dundee and Edinburgh and London, does that kind of push you further away from the front lines? Yeah,
sadly. I mean, the front line's kind of where I feel most happy. But the guys we've got, 80% of the team have got lived experience. So we've got a good, strong, solid kind of team on the ground. So they're more than capable of kind of carrying on, and I'll just kind of float in every now and again. And my role's more to think kind of big picture stuff and just look at kind of strategically where we're going next and try to engage new donors and new brands and stuff like that, and make sure that what we're and kind of being able. The good thing about being kind of not in the front line is you can look in from a distance and see all the moving parts that's happening, maybe at government levels, at local authority levels, with other charities, and try to see where can we have the biggest impact, where can we support the wider change.
It seems a world away from what you're talking about as like growing up and govern. In your 40s now, are you comfortable?
Don't be saying that in camera, Marcus, man. In my 40s.
In your very early 40s, are you comfortable in your own skin and your own head these days?
Yeah, I'm shattered this week, I'll no lie, because I've been babysitting, but I'm happy. See, the thing is, and I say it to everyone, it's like everybody wants what they don't have. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes we don't take that moment to say, right, well, here's what I've got.
Yeah.
And actually appreciate that. Do you know what I mean? I'm lucky that I've got a job that I love. I've got a group of staff and team around me who feel like family. Do you know what I mean? And I'm inspired every day, every time I speak to players and see players on their journey. So,
do you take time off, or just because when you're in a job like that you love, are you tempted to go at it 7 days a week?
Yeah, and it's been like that for a while, but I'm starting to get better. But it's one of the ones. It's like it's trying to switch off. But luckily today we've grown a wee bit over the last kind of 13 years, and now we're in a position where I could probably, I can take a few weeks off, and nothing's going to go wrong. I've got people in place to kind of steer the ship. But yeah, it's been good. The last few weeks have been crazy though, because I've just had COVID for 2 weeks and then right into an event and just like. So this weekend I'm going to chill and then get ready for the Monday. David, best of luck for the future, and thank you so much for being on the Scots Care podcast. It's been great talking to you. Oh, see you later. Bye bye. Bye.
Scots Care, supporting London Scots with financial grants, welfare advice, counselling, sheltered housing, jobs coaching and family support.